Imagine for a moment controlling technology not with your fingers or your voice, but purely with your mind.
Yeah, like moving a cursor, maybe driving a car, or operating some complex machine just by, well, thinking about it.
It sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But that very idea, um, it's rapidly becoming reality, thanks to a field known as brain-computer interfaces, BCIs for short.
Right, BCIs. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Our mission really is to cut through some of the science, maybe the hype too,
Uh,
explore what these interfaces truly are, look at the recent breakthroughs that are really pushing things forward, and importantly, what this all means for you, the listener, in everyday life, healthcare, maybe even further out.
and we've pulled together some, I think, really fascinating insights for this. We're looking at cutting-edge research from the University of Technology, Sydney.
Okay.
A great analysis on challenges and applications from Hello Future, and also some key historical, technical background from Science Direct, especially on the non-invasive side of things.
Excellent. So let's start right at the beginning then. When we talk about brain-computer interfaces, what are we actually talking about? Is it like thinking a command and poof, it just happens?
I'm not quite poof yet, but we're moving surprisingly fast in that direction. At their core, BCIs are systems that translate measurements of your brain activity
Okay.
into messages or commands for, interactive applications. And this activity is usually measured using an electroencephalogram, EEG.
Right. The cap with all the wires.
Exactly. Electrodes placed on your scalp. So think of it like this. When you intend to move your hand, say,
Mm-hmm.
your brain generates very distinct electrical patterns.
Mm-hmm.
A BCI can learn to identify that specific pattern and then map it to a command, like, say, moving a cursor left or right on a screen.
Okay, so it's not actually reading my mind, which I think is a really common misconception and maybe a bit unsettling for some people.
That's a really crucial distinction, yeah. Especially with all the misunderstandings floating around. While the idea of mind reading is, exciting
Mm-hmm.
or unsettling, like you said, BCIs are still very, very far from that.
Right.
They work by associating identified specific electrical brain patterns with machine commands.
Yeah.
It's really about recognizing a pattern linked to the intent to do something, turn a lamp on, change a TV channel, not, figuring out your deepest thoughts or feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. Intent, not thoughts.
Precisely. And interestingly, the basic research into these electrical signals from the brain, it actually dates way back to the 19th century. So it's been laying the groundwork for, well, quite a long time for what we're seeing today.
Wow, that far back. That context really shows how far we've come. And when we think about what's making all that research pay off now, a lot of the buzz seems to be around the University of Technology, Sydney UTS.
That's right.
They've made what people are calling a big leap, funded by what, $1.2 million from the Defense Innovation Hub. What exactly are they doing that's so groundbreaking?
Yeah, the UTS research is genuinely at the forefront. They're combining expertise in a few key areas: wearables, brainwave measurement, and crucially, new nanomaterials.
Oh, nanomaterial.
Exactly. It's not just like one small improvement, it's how these things work together. Professor Francisca Iacopi, she's been leading the charge on what they call a biosensor revolution.
A biosensor revolution. Okay, that sounds important. What makes this new sensor so different? Why is it a game changer compared to what we had before?
It's pretty clever. They've developed this novel biosensor using a special form of graphene. Those super thin, incredibly strong layers of carbon.
Right, graphene.
Well, they grow this directly onto a unique silicon base. But the key thing isn't just the material itself, it's what it enables. It gives you amazing durability, really good conductivity, and it's highly compatible with the human body.
Okay.
And critically, it can be used dry. No gels needed.
Oh, that's huge. Those gels are messy.
Exactly. Plus, it can be reused over long periods, even in pretty harsh conditions.
Hmm.
This just overcomes massive limitations of older sensors, things like corrosion, breaking easily, poor skin contact, all things that made it hard to reliably pick up those faint electrical signals, those biopotentials, from neurons, and importantly, doing it non-invasively.
Meaning just from outside the skull, right? No surgery.
Precisely. Which makes it much, much more practical for actual use, outside a lab.
Okay, so if these new sensors are getting such cleaner signals, that must really open things up for the AI part of the equation. You mentioned Professor C.T. Lin and Dr. Ngilian Tianthong Du are focused there. How's AI taking these better signals and pushing things further?
Yeah, they're using AI in a couple of key ways. First, to reduce all the background noise that's always plagued BCI performance. Think of it like noise cancellation for your brain signals.
Okay, cleaning it up.
Right, making the tech actually usable in noisy real-world places.
Yeah.
But the really transformative bit, their breakthrough in increasing command capacity.
Ah, how many things you can tell it to do.
Exactly. Get this. The UTS tech can issue at least 9 different commands in just 2 seconds.
9 in 2 seconds. Wow. Compared to what?
Well, most existing BCI tech usually offers maybe 2, maybe 3 distinct commands in that kind of time frame.
So that's a massive jump. Like you said, a leap.
It really is. It's like going from, I don't know, Morse code to texting.
Huh. Yeah. I can see Professor Lin's vision now when he says, I see this technology as the next generation of human-computer interfaces, translating brain signals directly into commands for robots. That kind of speed and versatility really unlocks things.
Precisely. It means we're moving beyond just simple on or off commands. Now you're talking about genuinely fluid, kind of multifaceted control.
Like controlling a robot arm with nuance, maybe.
Exactly. Or navigating complex software, controlling multiple things at once, all without touching anything. It fundamentally changes the whole experience. It stops feeling like a clunky interface and starts feeling more like, well, an extension of your thoughts.
That speed makes it feel natural.
That's the key insight, I think. Yeah. Natural.
So let's talk more about those real-world applications then. Beyond controlling robots, where else are we seeing this tech make an impact, or where do we expect it? Healthcare and disability seems like the obvious starting point, right? That's where BCIs first got a lot of attention.
Absolutely. Historically, BCIs have been, well, life-changing for people with severe physical disabilities,
Yeah.
helping them control wheelchairs, use hands-free text editors, things like that. But now we're seeing really promising new avenues in rehabilitation, especially physical and cognitive rehab, like after a stroke.
How does that work?
Well, imagine a patient, their limb is paralyzed, but they intend to move it. They try to move it. A BCI can actually detect that intent from their brain signals
Okay.
and then activate a robotic brace or prosthesis to physically move the limb for them.
Whoa!
Yeah. And this feedback loop, seeing the limb move as you intended to, it helps stimulate neuroplasticity. It actually helps the brain rewire itself and potentially regain some function.
That's incredible. Really powerful stuff. And it sounds like the applications also stretch into some pretty high-stakes areas, too, like industry and defense.
They absolutely do. Think about directing machinery in dangerous situations or places humans can't easily go. And the military is definitely interested.
Like the Australian Army example.
Exactly. They're actively exploring how soldiers could operate autonomous systems like those four-legged robots you see.
Yeah, the robot dogs.
Right. Operate those using just brain signals. The idea is it lets soldiers keep their hands on their weapons, potentially improving their focus and performance during tactical missions.
Yeah.
It's laid out in their robotics and autonomous systems strategy. A really interesting strategic shift.
Hands-free robot control in a firefight. Okay. So we've got healthcare, defense. What about closer to home? Everyday life, entertainment. Are we going to be playing video games with our minds soon? Is that realistic?
Huh. Well, consumer applications like hands-free gaming are definitely on the radar, and we're already seeing prototypes for things like home automation.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Orange, the telecom company, they developed a prototype system where you wear an augmented reality headset, like a Microsoft HoloLens,
Okay.
and you see icons floating in your vision for your connected devices, lamps, TV outlets. You just focus your attention on the icon for the lamp. Maybe you intend to switch it on.
And it turns on.
Bingo. On, off, change channels, whatever it's programmed for, just by focusing.
Yeah.
It shows how you could potentially integrate BCIs pretty seamlessly with the smart home stuff we already have. No more yelling at Alexa when your voice is scratchy.
That is cool. Controlling your smart home just by looking and thinking. And it also touches on another fascinating area you mentioned, assessing mental states.
Yes, that's another big potential application. BCIs can be used to get a sense of things like your mental load, how hard your brain is working, or your level of attention, maybe even certain emotions.
How would that be useful?
Well, you could use it to evaluate systems. For example, does this new fighter jet cockpit design overload the pilot with too much information? A BCI could help measure that directly.
Ah, I see.
Or you could have interactive applications that adapt to the user. Imagine an educational program, maybe a math exercise. If the BCI detects the student is getting really mentally overloaded or frustrated.
It could maybe simplify the problem automatically.
Exactly. or offer a hint, or suggest a break. It's about tailoring the interaction based on the user's actual cognitive or emotional state in real time.
Okay, so given all these amazing possibilities, it's easy to get carried away. But let's ground ourselves a bit. What are the practical hurdles? What are the limitations we still face today?
That's a really important question, yeah.
Mm.
Despite all the progress, BCIs aren't perfect. Not by a long shot yet.
Like the accuracy.
Right. For instance, distinguishing between someone imagining moving their left hand versus imagining moving their right hand, the common BCI task current systems might get that right about 80% of the time.
Okay, 80% sounds pretty good.
It does, but it also means they're wrong 1 time out of 5, which, depending on the application, might not be good enough. Imagine controlling a wheelchair.
Point taken. Yeah, 1 in 5 is too many errors there.
Exactly. And an even bigger hurdle, maybe, is that for a significant chunk of people, estimates range from 10 to maybe 30%. Current BCIs just don't seem to work reliably at all. We sometimes call it BCI illiteracy.
Huh. So for some people, it just doesn't connect.
We're still figuring out exactly why, but yeah. So the major challenge really is designing systems that are reliable, robust, and work consistently well for everyone.
And I'm guessing artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's got to be key to tackling those challenges.
Absolutely indispensable.
Yeah.
AI is crucial. BCIs fundamentally rely on machine learning algorithms to sift through all that noisy EEG data and recognize the very subtle patterns that correspond to your intent or your mental state.
So it's pattern recognition, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. Similar kinds of algorithms that might recognize faces in photos or understand spoken language. But there's a big catch, a data hurdle.
Oh, not enough data.
Compared to the massive data sets used to train things like ChatGPT. Yeah, the amount of labeled brain data available for training BCIs is, well, tiny in comparison.
Right, you can't just scrape the whole internet for EEG signals.
Exactly. So
Wow.
BCI research has to focus on being really smart and efficient, developing methods and algorithms that can learn effectively and generalize well from much smaller data sets. It's not about big data here, so much as smart data, making the AI robust enough for reliable, everyday use.
Smart data, not just big data. Got it. So what does the industry look like right now? Who's actually working on this, and what's the kind of future vision?
Kind of a dual landscape, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, you have companies already marketing specific BCI-based products, mostly assistive tech, like from companies called G.Tech or BitBrain,
Okay.
and some well-being or relaxation type products too, like the Dream Headband for sleep. Though, caution is probably wise there. Some lack strong clinical evidence for their claims.
Right. Buyer beware sometimes.
Definitely. Then on the other side, you've got the big tech players, Google, Meta, Facebook, Microsoft, Orange, Capgemini.
Hmm.
They're all investing pretty heavily in long-term R&D.
So they're not selling specific BCI products yet.
Not really, no. It seems like they're more focused on mastering the underlying technology, figuring out its potential, maybe for future applications we haven't even thought of yet, playing the long game.
Waiting for the tech to mature a bit more, perhaps?
Yeah.
So where does this all lead? What's the sort of ultimate vision people talk about?
Well, the really exciting vision, I think, is that eventually these sensors could just become part of what we wear every day.
Like embedded in a hat or
Or
glasses.
headphones, clothing, accessories, yeah.
Yeah.
Making thought-based control feel completely natural, totally hands-free, just part of how we interact with the world.
Wow.
And it's worth noting, the field is actually very collaborative. You see initiatives like Cortico, which is a group of French-speaking BCI researchers. They work together across disciplines, share findings, and importantly, really contribute to the crucial discussions around ethical use. It highlights that this isn't just happening in isolated labs. There's a real global cooperative effort pushing things forward.
This has been absolutely fascinating, a really great deep dive. It's clear brain-computer interfaces are, well, they're truly starting to transform how humans and machines interact, moving out of sci-fi and into real, tangible applications that could genuinely change lives.
Yeah, it's an incredible convergence, isn't it? Material science, AI, neuroscience, all coming together.
Definitely a field we should all be keeping a close eye on.
Absolutely, the pace of change is just remarkable.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. If our devices really can soon interpret our intentions directly from our brain signals, how might that fundamentally change our perception of privacy, of personal control? Maybe even change what it truly means to think in this increasingly connected world we live in.